Hi, welcome everybody to this month's episode of Cronin's Corner. I am State Senator John Cronin. Thank you for joining us. I am pleased today to be joined by Melissa Fetterhoff from the Nashoba Valley Chamber of Commerce, Executive Director, President and CEO, Commander of the Starship, right? Fearless
I like that
leader.
one.
Yeah.
I like that
so
one.
welcome. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
for
for
having
joining
me.
us.
Thank you.
So before we get started, really looking forward today to talking about the Chamber, your work, what's going on here in our region and corner of Massachusetts. But could you introduce yourself to people who are watching who might not have met you yet or know you?
Sure. My name's Melissa Fetterhoff. I am the President and CEO of the Nashoba Valley Chamber. I have been working for the Chamber coming up on 22 years now. And prior to that, I was actually a Chamber member for 5 years. I was in banking, and I was part of the team that was hired to open the Air branch of the IC Federal Credit Union, and we didn't have a footprint in Nashoba area, so we needed to get involved and meet people, and the best way to do that was to join the Chamber.
And then it pulled you in. You
Pulled
never
me
left,
in.
right?
I never left.
Yeah.
27 years later. So.
And
Yep.
I think that's one of the great things about the Chamber is there's not that many entities that bring people together, and especially across academia, schools, into the business community, across sectors in the business community. How powerful is that kind of network and the Chamber's ability to activate it?
It's been great, and it is amazing to see so many. And after over 27 years, I've seen people, grow and move on and move up in their careers. Their families have grown. They leave the Chamber for a little bit because they have little young kids, and then they come back years
Yep.
later when their kids are, have their own, starting to have their own lives, and so it's pretty amazing to have seen so much, and to see so many businesses working so hard to make the region a better region.
How's the region changed since when you started?
Oh boy, I would say.
Or stayed the same?
I would say a little bit of both. It's
Yeah.
definitely, I grew up in Littleton, and so I'm definitely from the area. I went to Fitchburg State for a little bit, and so it's definitely stayed the same, but it's changed so much. Devens has really had a big impact on the region. The closure
And
of the
27
base.
years ago, it was like receiving a death sentence.
It really
right?
was.
Yeah.
It really was.
Can you take us back to that time? What was that like?
Oh, I was so much younger.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I was at a point in my life that it didn't register to me the way that it would register to me today.
Yeah.
So and we've gone through 9/11. Yeah, so much has changed.
Devens has become such a juggernaut for
Yes.
the region. I think, a lot of people who live here who, have been in North Central forever, who haven't even driven through in a while, would be shocked to see all the development. And, Bristol Myers Squibb, their North American headquarters is there. Commonwealth Fusion, who is doing some of the most cutting edge research and development on clean energy anywhere in the world, has 500 engineers who work there every day.
Yeah.
What else is going on at Devens, and how does the Chamber kind of support what's happening there?
There's so much going on. There's a Sterling Street Brewery.
Most importantly, there's a brewery coming
There's a
in,
brewery
right? Yeah,
coming.
so Devens has really made it because there's going to be good beer now. Yeah.
We're so excited. There's always something. It seems like there's always new ground being broken, and people are always like, and I happen to be on the Devens Enterprise Commission as well, and which has been a great partnership, really, for me, and getting to know what's happening in the area, and stay on top of that. But sometimes people are asking me, they're like, what's going on here? And I'm like, I didn't even know there was something going on there. It's just, there's always something. Yeah.
And it's totally it's 21st century innovation economy,
Yes.
like no matter where you look, right? One of the things we did in the legislature last session is raise the commercial cap. When the legislature created the enterprise zone, it capped commercial and residential square footage. So it's incredible that we've hit that cap, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people would have said, we'll be lucky if we ever get there. And I think this session we're looking at raising the housing cap too.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
It's obviously, it's much needed. The governor talked about it, and we have space for it. We were the actual last tenant in Vicksburg Square.
Yep.
So it's something that I'm personally, absolutely
Could you
in
tell
support of.
everybody what is Vicksburg Square? They'll
Vicksburg Square is a quad of buildings right on Rogers Parade Field, and it has seen a lot of different. I've heard there was medical in there. There was Army intelligence, but right now they are buildings that have been empty and dormant for over 15 years. We were literally the last people to move out of that building. And it needed improvements then, and it's not, Mass Development's done the best that they can with the resources that they have, and with the zoning that has been there,
which is not for residential use right now.
It's
right?
not, and we've gone. The chamber has been proud to support several times. They've gone before a Supertown meeting to try to add housing, and it's been declined each time. So it's much needed, obviously, for our region.
So one of the things that we are doing this session, and certainly a priority of mine, is going to be to raise that cap and certainly at a minimum rezone Vicksburg Square for housing development. I think it's tough to say you're in a housing crisis if you're not acting like you're in a housing crisis. And I think for the state to have land that is not being put to productive use, a historic building that's beautiful, there's an opportunity there that I think is exciting to convert into housing. And housing. We'll talk more about competitiveness and what the region needs, but exciting opportunity there.
Definitely.
So thanks for the chamber's leadership and advocacy for that. Turning back to the chamber, can you tell us just about what your mission is, what the vision is you have for the Nashoba Valley, and then who makes up the chamber? Who are some of the members?
Sure. So our mission is to support and promote businesses in our region. And we, after almost 22 years employed there, we really make an effort to work with our businesses. That's changed over the years. What does that mean? What do the businesses need? And so we're always looking to the businesses to find out what will help them be more successful. What types of, educational speakers can we bring in? What types of resources do they need to grow their business for the region? Certainly over COVID, it was much different than what they need to even today.
Yep.
So we just try to it's really being a resource and a partner for the businesses in all ways that they need.
Have you seen industry change in the Nashoba Valley? Right. I think we think of North Central Massachusetts. We think of manufacturing. You think of Fitchburg and Leominster, plastic and paper. Some of that has changed over the past 30 years in terms of lean manufacturing, plastics transferring to medical devices, the paper industry continuing to kind of decline. What's going on in the Nashoba Valley that you've witnessed?
Well, going back to Devon's, definitely, a lot more clean rooms, a lot more of the, Bristol Myers Squibb businesses coming in. So we still have, manufacturers, but manufacturing has changed.
Yep.
And so there has been change, but also still have our traditional businesses.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I hope Devon's becomes is a cluster for workforce and talent that at the end of the day is around Devon's too, and not just in the enterprise zone. Have you noticed industries like that who are maybe coming to the Nashoba Valley but not specifically to Devon's, but as a part of either a manufacturing or a life sciences or biotech cluster?
We have a lot of great businesses like. So we're housed at Phoenix Park in Shirley, about 6 minutes with traffic from our old office on Devon's. And there are a number of manufacturers like Burkhart Phelan. They manufacture the highest quality flutes.
And I have done a tour there. It is unbelievable.
The best thing of being at Phoenix Park, in addition to the amazing smells, because we have a couple bakeries in the building, every now and then, all of a sudden, I'll just hear faint little flutes playing.
You got to test the flute before you like bring it to market, right?
And I'm like, what is that? It's beautiful. It's just great. So yeah.
And you think of like, is there any more like highly skilled precision? Anything going on anywhere. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's old school though too, right? I mean, it's not automated. It's not using robots. I mean, they're truly like tradespeople.
True. Yeah.
Which is certainly exciting. But
yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you see in terms of things that are facing the businesses here, or workforce challenges that we have?
Well, housing and transportation
Yep.
is, obviously a huge issue for our region. And I think I know everybody goes to it, but the soft skills and getting people employed again. We still have, a number of businesses that are looking to fill roles with the right person. And so that's been a huge challenge over the years.
And we haven't really fully recovered from the pandemic in terms of workforce.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the disruptions and some of the impacts that, one, that businesses faced, and two, that maybe we're still kind of going through?
Well, so one thing I can tell you, we've been doing a job fair hiring event for 10 years. Mm-hmm. We do them twice a year in the fall, and then we actually have one coming up in March. And it has changed a lot over the years. When we first started doing them 10 years ago, easily we had 150 people waiting to get into the event before we even opened.
Yep.
And now people, employees, job seekers are pickier, and they can be with what types of jobs they're looking for.
Yeah.
And working from home, that's been a huge thing that folks, quality of life, balance.
Yeah.
And so, but businesses want people to come into the office, and so that's been a huge thing that businesses are having to juggle and try and find the next thing that works best for them.
Right. I think it probably won't have a huge impact on our region or North Central Massachusetts, but I think one of the things that worries me is how harmful people not going into work is, and not just for productivity or for building those soft skills. I think of young people. The first couple of years out of college, you were really learning how to be successful the rest of your career. And I feel bad for the kids who graduated during the pandemic or graduated from high school and came out in the pandemic. To just not have that interaction with people who become role models and you look up to, or it's so integral to everything that follows.
I had one of my best learning experiences was one of my worst bosses that I worked for. I learned exactly what I never want to do. I would have never learned that if I worked from home.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we're still, there's a reckoning coming with the commercial real estate bubble that is gonna, that I don't think we fully understand the effects of too. So very dangerous. But we're also kind of facing some demographic headwinds here in central or north central Massachusetts that I think directly ties into some of the workforce challenges that the Chamber's members are facing. How do we best address that, or how are some of the companies trying to innovate to meet their workforce needs?
In the last hiring event that we did, we partnered with some great programs looking at recruiting, older folks, getting them back into the work environment. A lot of folks retired early with the pandemic because, it was a great time for them to do that. But they're not.
Then everybody's portfolio went down 25%, right? So it's like, yeah.
And they're not done, and they're so skilled, and they've got so much more to bring to the table. And we do have a shortage of, younger folks coming into the work environment. So it's definitely a challenge.
I think, one of the opportunities that we have, if we can seize it, is, we can get young people out here if we can increase our housing stock.
Yes.
And we need to do that not just in our gateway cities, but we need every type of housing everywhere. Can you talk about the conversations that you have with your members, and then things that you're advocating for at the State House or at the local level to try to get at that challenge?
Sure. Housing, working with Devons, trying to get, increase that housing has definitely been one of the things that we've been working on. Transportation, we've been working with MART, trying to, over the years, we've been part of a group that's been meeting at Devons to work towards getting that last mile, getting people from the train to, their place of business.
That's a gap there,
It's
right?
a huge gap.
Between Shirley and the MBTA station?
Between Shirley and Air.
And Devons.
And Devons. And even just having, better public transportation to get to the hospital and to the libraries, and all the great resources that are available for the folks in the community. Childcare is definitely the cost of childcare, and the availability of childcare is a huge issue for businesses. We're happy to work with the folks at the Community Foundation on a childcare initiative, and hoping that there are different states across the country that have been working on this, and there are a few examples that we're going to learn more about in our cohort, and looking forward to seeing if there's what Massachusetts can do, and hopefully we can launch a program that will be a great program for other regions.
And I think it helps so many people, right? It helps young kids develop skills that'll set them up for success in the classroom, and it helps young parents get into the workforce. I had a great conversation with President Vanderhooven at Mount Wachusett, and the Mount now has a program where there's drop-in childcare.
Nice.
So you can show up with your kid in tow, drop in for childcare at no cost to the student while that young mom or young dad goes to class. And that's not something that we had in the region a few years ago.
Yeah.
So certainly something we need to sustain. And then the governor had a really exciting announcement this week too, where she is proposing to extend universal pre-K to 4-year-olds in all 26 of the region's gateway cities.
Yeah.
So for places like Fitchburg or Leominster or Lowell, that can certainly be a game changer for a lot of families.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are some of the other challenges to getting people back into the workforce that your members are facing?
That's a good question.
And I'll also say, I read this in the paper this morning that is very exciting. We know we have a lot of arrivals here in Massachusetts and migrants. I read in the paper that the workforce program, the training program that the state has set up, has people working at Air at Catania Oils,
yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah. Can you talk about that business? Because it's a huge.
That's a great business.
It's a great business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Catania Oils. Our board actually just recently, a couple months ago, did a tour there. Have you ever done a tour?
I haven't. I haven't.
We'll work on scheduling that. It's a fun tour. And they manufacture. They ship in oil. Olive oil.
It was like Vito Corleone's business, right? Yeah.
They actually, it's not just olive oil. They have all kinds of oils.
Yeah.
Almond oil. I don't know. I'm not going to name all the oils because I'm not going to get them all correct. But they manufacture blends, specific blends for other companies. I know they have their own label that they distribute in the region, and then they private label distribute for other businesses in the region. Like I want to say Ken's Steakhouse salad dressing.
It's a big account.
It's a huge account.
Yeah.
And so it's really impressive, the things that they do. And so, you have to go on the tour there.
I think that just the diversity of businesses that are chamber members is something that we can be proud of. Could you highlight a couple other members that come to mind or are doing pretty interesting things?
Sure.
We've got the flute business and the oil business covered.
Yes.
The olive oil business.
Of course, there's the hospitals. We're very lucky in our area to have some really great hospitals, Nashoba Valley, UMass Memorial, and there's always, I know they're always hiring, and there's always something going on. We've just had Steve Roach out to speak at our Fidelity Bank breakfast 2 months ago. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Like, what businesses? What businesses?
You've got more than 2 members.
I know,
right?
I do. We have 500 something businesses. There's always something going on.
And so, what about the Chamber's events? Can you talk about things that are coming up or things you do every year, and what are the ways that people can get involved or join the Chamber?
Sure. So one of the big things that we're working on right now is our taste. So we've been for 21 years. This would be our 23rd, but we had 2 years of COVID, and so we have our 21st annual Taste of Nashoba. It's held at Lawrence Academy in Groton, and we have anywhere from 35 to 50 vendors.
Wow.
Food, beverage. All of the ticket holders get to vote on best entree, dessert, beverage, appetizer, and presentation. And I always between the 35 to 50 vendors, you're never going to make it to all vendors. I've tried every year.
You'll get sick. Yeah. What number do you get sick at? 17, 18?
I wish I even got that high.
Right,
I get to like 10 and I'm like, oh. And I always try eat, stuff yourself before you go, because then
Eat,
your belly has more room. Starve yourself before you go.
You can't war game 35 different stations,
no,
right? Yeah.
Right.
No.
So it's amazing though. We like I said, every year we have best of from the region for 21 years now, and it's a great event. Usually we have about, pre-COVID we had about 800 to 1,000 attendees, and so this year is going to be our 3rd year back from COVID. I'm anticipating that we're going to get right up on that 800 to 1,000 attendees. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I know one of the things that I enjoyed was your advocacy day at the State House in Beacon Hill. Can you talk about some of the different members that joined, and then things that you were advocating people like me for, and how they would benefit not just businesses but the region?
Yes. So yes, every year we gather a group of businesses from the Chamber, and we go in and visit with all of our area legislators. We're very fortunate. We work with a public policy consultant, Matt Keswick, and he helps us coordinate the day. The morning is always dedicated to meet with our area legislators. Then we do a lunch, and then we usually will do a tour of something in Boston. And every year, the folks that we've had, Mount Wachusett Community College, More Enterprises, American Alarm, Alpha Graphics. So we have, a wide range of businesses that get involved. We've always had somebody from usually Nashoba Park Assisted Living, wide range of different businesses that join. And we have a public policy statement every year. Again, I go back to housing, transportation, childcare, unemployment, and those are our primary goals every year. But all of the businesses have different issues that they're dealing with, and so it's a great opportunity to, I find, it's less intimidating when you go with a smaller group of folks.
Yeah.
To meet with. Sometimes people are, I'm sure you've felt it.
Nobody's scared of me, Melissa. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe you meet Mike Kushmarek or Natalie Higgins. They put the fear of God in the people. Yeah, very scary people. Make Kilcoyne very scary.
I think people think that they're so intimidated to go to Boston, go to Beacon Hill, but it really isn't. It's a lovely old. It's
incredible to share the building with people.
It really
right?
is.
It's a privilege just to be able to be a part of the history, right? We were in there yesterday, and I learned, and I didn't know this, but Paul Revere and Sam Adams laid the cornerstone of the building, right? I mean, there's the history of the country is the history of the State House. So it's a great place to visit every year. And I think it's important to bring the business community together. I know I appreciate the hearing about the challenges, but as you said, it comes back to housing and transportation and workforce development. And education pathways, and being able to have a constructive dialogue about what we're trying to do,
Yes.
and where we're falling short, I think is really important. And I've been to, is it Eggs in Politics, or what is the
Eggs and Issues.
Eggs
yes.
and Issues? Yeah. I used to like Kegs and Eggs in college, but haven't done that in a while. So what's Eggs and Issues though?
Eggs and Issues is our public policy meeting, and we host them every other month-ish. And we try to bring in guest speakers like yourself, share what your issues that you've been, working on, and it's a great dialogue with the businesses, so that they have the opportunity.
Secretary Augustus was there. Yeah,
Yes,
Ed Augustus from Worcester.
We're very lucky to have him. And we've had a Lieutenant Governor came out and visited with us earlier last year. We've been very lucky to bring in, and whenever there's a ballot initiative, we use our Eggs and Issues as an opportunity to educate our members. We request both sides of any ballot issue to come before us to
Give
talk.
us your spiel,
Give
right?
it to us. What do we, know, so that we can make the best educated decision. Sometimes we don't get both sides to join us, but so we do the best we can.
Sometimes that's a message too,
Sometimes
right?
it's a message.
Yeah. So we got a couple minutes left, but what's your vision moving forward for the chamber, and how would you like to see, the chamber help move the Nashoba Valley region forward?
So one of the things that we're working on is we're building our board of advisors right now, and we have a meeting scheduled so that we can have an open conversation with the businesses. What are their challenges, and what can we do to help them? We've got a lot of resources between our team and our boards and our partners from the communities, and so we want to hear from the businesses. What do they need? And we're pretty flexible in that what has worked for the chamber years past might not work for a business today. So we want to hear from them directly and what are they looking for. But we're here to do that.
And what's the best way, if there's a person who is an entrepreneur or a new business owner, how do they get in touch with you? How do they join the chamber? Or how can they feel you guys out and see if it's something they want to be a part of?
So
which I'm sure they will.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
They'll get there.
I would say visit our website, which is nvcoc.com, Nashoba Valley Chamber of Commerce. And you can contact us right from the website. You can see what our upcoming events are. You can see the business directory, list all of who our current members are, who our new members are, and there's all kinds of information. But primarily contact us. I'm happy. I love meeting with businesses, even if it's not the best time for them to join. We'll have a conversation and see what we can do. I love to learn about their business, and hopefully we'll make a connection and they'll consider joining.
Well, thank you so much for everything you do. Thanks for coming on the show today. And I really appreciate your partnership and your leadership. And the region is well served by you.
Thank you.
And the future in the Nashoba Valley is bright. So thank you.
I thank you for your leadership. We've been very lucky in our region. And
we have a great delegation.
We do have a great delegation. So thank you.
Everybody, thanks for joining today. Melissa Fetterhoff from the Nashoba Valley Chamber of Commerce. And we'll see you next month.